Welcome back to Declutter and Done. You know that feeling when you walk into your living room and it just feels heavy? There's no big mess, but the remote's on the wrong table. Yesterday's mug is still by the sink, and that one envelope you've been avoiding, still there. It's not a disaster, but it's not peace either. And somehow that low-grade noise, that invisible weight follows you from room to room. Not loud, just constant. A hum of you should be doing more under every breath. I used to think I needed more energy or better routines or a weekend to finally catch up. But what I actually needed were smaller shifts, gentler rhythms that made life feel less like a battle. So today I'm sharing 12 quiet habits that help me stop fighting with my home and finally feel like I could breathe in it again. They're not complicated. They don't require money or hours of cleaning, just small specific ways to reclaim calm one tiny moment at a time. You don't need to do all 12, but even one could change the way your home feels this week. Let's get into it. Let's start with something simple and surprisingly powerful. You know those moments when you're running late and suddenly the keys are gone, or your phone charger isn't where you thought it was? These tiny delays feel like nothing until they start stacking up, and suddenly your whole morning feels off. Most of us don't notice how often we just drop things wherever we are. A purse on the floor, scissors on the dining table, a receipt in the junk drawer. We tell ourselves we'll put it away later, but later rarely comes. And all that stuff without a spot becomes background noise your brain has to manage. So I tried changing just one thing: my sunglasses. They used to live anywhere. Kitchen, counter, bathroom shelf tossed in a tote bag. I finally chose one hook by the front door and promised myself this is where they go. Now I never have to think about them. They're just there when I need them, no searching, no second guessing. That small decision gave me a mental break I didn't know I needed. When things have a home, they don't drain you. You stop apologizing to yourself for being scattered because the system is already supporting you. And tomorrow, I'll share a few small systems I use near the entryway, one of the busiest, messiest areas in most homes. You might be surprised by how much calmer your day feels when that zone works for you. Stay tuned. And that relief, that little moment of, oh, I'm not behind, is what led me to habit number 2-1, that works even when you're tired and don't feel like doing anything at all. Next, there's a lie we tell ourselves that sounds so harmless: I'll do it later. Just a tiny spill on the counter, just one plate in the sink, just one towel draped over a chair. But those small things, they don't disappear. They collect, they pile, and more than anything, they weigh. I didn't notice it at first. I thought I was being flexible, giving myself grace by putting things off. But the truth was, later wasn't rest. It was just delay. By the time I was finally ready to relax, the undone things were waiting, not loud, just quietly asking for attention again. The shift came when I started asking myself one question: will this take less than a minute? If the answer was yes, I did it right then. Wipe the counter, rinse the mug, hang the towel. I didn't wait for a deep clean, I just closed the loop while it was still small. It changed more than my space, it changed my evenings. I stopped stepping over piles of half-done. I stopped losing momentum. Even something as small as putting away the scissors after opening a box helped me feel like I was done, like that moment was complete. It sounds too easy to matter. But honestly, that 1-minute habit helped me feel lighter, like I wasn't always chasing unfinished tasks. The mess stopped growing, the guilt stopped whispering, and I finally felt like my home was working with me, not against me. And from there, I realized maybe the problem wasn't the mess itself. Maybe I was simply living with too much of everything. Next, there's a reason your drawers feel like decision traps. It's not just clutter, it's mental noise. When everything is packed with just in case, maybe one day, or I should keep this because it was expensive, your brain doesn't get a break. Even when you're not using these things, they're still talking to you, loudly, all at once. I used to open my kitchen drawer and feel a tiny wave of guilt followed by a fork flying sideways. The old blender I hadn't touched in years. A cracked measuring cup I kept just until I replaced it 3 years ago. 5 mugs, even though I only like 2, and one of them has a chip I pretend not to notice. It didn't feel like a mess, but it also didn't feel like mine. More like a storage unit I happen to live in. So I changed the question. Instead of asking, "Should I keep this?" I asked, "Would I choose this again today?" That one sentence helped me let go of things that no longer fit the life I actually live, not the one I used to live or hope to live someday. Spoiler, I am not suddenly going to become someone who makes green juice every morning. I started with a small shelf in the bathroom, half-used products, stretched out hair ties, a face mask I never liked, but felt guilty throwing away. I cleared it in 15 minutes, and the next morning I moved faster, reached with less hesitation, didn't knock over 3 bottles just to find the one thing I needed. Keeping less doesn't mean giving things up. It means getting space back in your home and in your head. You don't have to think so hard, dig so deep, or get low-key judged by your own belongings. And that feeling of space returning made me look at my evenings differently too. Not just what I was doing before bed, but how I was closing the day. Tip 4. For a long time, my evenings ended in slow collapse. I'd scroll, snack, maybe fold one thing, then give up. The kitchen light stayed on, the counter had crumbs, the mail was still in a pile I didn't open, and I'd tell myself I'll deal with it tomorrow. But tomorrow always started messy because I never actually finished today. It didn't seem like a big deal. A few things out of place, a dish or two. But the truth is those small leftovers whispered to me before I even opened my eyes. I'd walk into the kitchen and feel like I was already behind. Not because the house was a disaster, but because the energy was unfinished. Like my brain had to pick up someone else's loose ends, except that someone else was me. Then I tried something new. Instead of waiting until I was too tired to care, I gave myself 5 minutes, just 5, to gently close the house before I closed my eyes. No checklist, no pressure, just small signals that the day was done. I'd put away the teacup, wipe the table, straighten the couch blanket, blow out the candle, check the doors, lay out the clothes I wanted to wear the next day. It felt like tucking the house into bed. And somehow, it tucked me in too. There's something powerful about ending the day on purpose. It's not about control, it's about kindness. You wake up and the house is already one step ahead. No silent to-do list waiting, no chaos to absorb before coffee. It doesn't make the dishes disappear forever, but it makes the next morning feel less like a rescue mission and more like a continuation of calm. And once I gave each day a soft ending, I started noticing how messy my spaces felt when they didn't know what they were for in the first place. Tip 5. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt your shoulders tense and you're not even sure why? It might be because that room is trying to be 5 things at once. A kitchen counter that's also a dumping ground, a dining table that's part office, part craft station, part laundry pile, a bed that's not just for sleep, but also for email scrolling and eating snacks you're pretending aren't crumbs. When spaces don't have clear roles, your brain doesn't either. Every corner is multitasking. Every surface is blurred. And suddenly, even when you're resting, you're not really resting, because nothing around you is helping you let go. So I started small. I made one rule: no phones at the dining table. It became the place where we eat, talk, maybe light a candle, but nothing else. And something shifted. The table stopped feeling like a chore hub and started feeling like a break, like a place we could land. Then I applied the same idea to the couch. No folding laundry there. Just reading, talking, watching something with a blanket. And it worked. The space started holding the mood I wanted to have in it, not the one I was trying to escape from. You don't need to rearrange your whole house. You just need to pick one corner, one chair, one table, and give it back its job. Then let it do only that. And the peace you create there, it will ripple out, because the moment your space starts supporting your rhythms, you stop feeling like you have to manage everything all at once. Next, there's something about horizontal surfaces. They attract clutter like magnets. Counters, nightstands, entryway tables. Even if you clean them, they always seem to fill right back up. I used to wipe down my kitchen island and feel good for about 10 minutes. Then someone dropped mail there, then sunglasses, then a random toy, a receipt, a water bottle. And suddenly, the whole surface looked like a stalled to-do list again. Not dirty, just unfinished. Not chaotic, but loud. So I tried something I honestly thought was too simple to work. I put a tray on the counter. One tray. That's it. But the rule was clear, only what fits inside it can stay. Keys, phone, maybe one pen. If it doesn't fit, it gets put away or tossed. To my surprise, that tiny boundary changed the whole feel of the room. The rest of the counter stayed clear. The tray caught the chaos, but contained it. I could walk past it and feel calm, not guilty. No more scanning and thinking I should probably deal with that. Just quiet. Later, I added another tray to the nightstand. Same rule, no pileups. A book, a lip balm, maybe one folded tissue. I stopped knocking things over, just trying to reach for the lamp. And weirdly, I started sleeping better, too, because my brain wasn't saying, clean me, every time I turned over. It gave the space a job. It gave my brain a break. And most importantly, it gave me one less place where mess was allowed to grow silently in the background. That little tray, the one I almost didn't bother with, ended up being the thing that anchored the whole space. 1 square foot of structure changed how I experienced the entire kitchen. Tip 7. For a long time, my day didn't really end. I'd stop doing things, sure, but I wouldn't actually stop. I'd scroll until my eyes hurt, then fall asleep with the light still on, laundry still on the bed, and tabs open both on my screen and in my brain. It felt harmless, like I was unwinding. But I wasn't unwinding, I was just avoiding the pause, the quiet, the chance to actually land and say, okay, we're done for today. And every morning I'd wake up with the same feeling like the day had already started without me. The mental clutter from last night still sitting right beside me. Then one night I did something different. Instead of reaching for my phone, I reached for a glass of water. I put it on the nightstand, folded the throw blanket, turned off the overhead light, and lit one small lamp. I didn't do anything dramatic. I just let the day slow down on purpose. That small change became a cue. This is the part where we stop. No more catching up, checking, or pushing through, just the quiet act of acknowledging you've done enough. That moment, even just 60 seconds of stillness, started to feel like a gift I was giving myself, not a rule I had to follow. Some nights I still forget, but the nights I remember, they feel softer. And the sleep that follows, it actually feels like rest, not just recovery. Because peace doesn't show up all at once. Sometimes it starts with how gently you end the day. Tip 8. I used to rush through chores just to get them over with. Wash the dishes dry, the counter, put away the laundry, check, check, check. I didn't hate doing them, but they felt like a job I couldn't escape. Something I had to get through before I could rest. But one evening, as I was drying a cup, I paused. It was the same cup I'd used all day, morning tea, afternoon, water, evening, chamomile. And I realized this one small object had served me all day long without complaint, without needing to be new or perfect or pretty. So I started saying thank you, not out loud, just quietly in my mind. Thank you, cup. Thank you, towel. Thank you, floor, for holding me up. It sounds silly, but it shifted something, because when you start noticing how much your home does for you, instead of just what it demands, everything softens. You move through the space with less resentment. You treat your belongings with more care. Not because they're expensive, but because they're loyal. Gratitude is what turns a house into something more than square footage. It makes your space feel like it's with you, not something you constantly have to fight or fix. And once you feel that shift, even the smallest acts, folding a blanket, closing a drawer, become little moments of connection, not just tasks to power through. Next, there was a point where every part of my house was doing too much, and so was I. I ate on the couch, worked at the kitchen counter, sorted socks on the bed, and fell asleep with my laptop next to me. The house wasn't messy, but somehow I always felt unsettled, like I couldn't fully relax anywhere. Then I heard a phrase that stuck with me. When your space forgets its purpose, so does your body. And suddenly it made sense. I wasn't just physically tired, I was mentally scattered. Because nothing in my home was giving me clear signals. Now you rest, now you focus, now you eat. So I made a few tiny boundaries. The dining table is now only for meals, not mail, not laptops, not half-done crafts. The bed is for sleeping, not scrolling, not spreadsheets, not even folding laundry. It was uncomfortable at first. I kept reaching for my phone out of habit. But eventually those spaces started to carry their own energy again. Sitting down to eat actually felt like eating. Getting into bed felt like leaving the day behind. Your home doesn't have to be fancy to give you peace. It just needs to stop asking every room and every part of you to do 5 things at once. Next, you know that candle you've been saving, or the fancy hand soap, or the linen napkins you keep tucked away in a drawer for a dinner party that hasn't happened in 3 years. I used to do that all the time. I had a shelf of special things too nice for today, too delicate for regular use. And meanwhile, I was wiping my hands on a threadbare towel and drinking tea out of a chipped mug I didn't even like. Then one afternoon I asked myself, if not now, when I lit the candle. I opened the good soap. I used the linen napkin just for lunch by myself, toast and all. And it felt good. Not extravagant, not wasteful, just human. Like I was worth the softness right now, not someday. We think saving things is being responsible, but sometimes it's just another way we tell ourselves we haven't earned comfort yet. You don't need a guest, a holiday, or a reason. Today is reason enough. Using what you love reminds you that your life as it is matters. Not just the part when the house is clean or when guests come over, but this ordinary, messy, beautiful Wednesday, right now. Tip 11. There was a time I thought a routine meant doing the same thing every day without fail. Wake up early, make the bed, journal, stretch, drink lemon water. All before 7 a.m. And when I didn't, which was often, I felt like I'd already failed the day. But the truth is, most of us don't need stricter routines. We need gentler ones. Routines that flex with us, support us, and leave space for real life to happen. So instead of forcing a schedule, I began noticing what I naturally did when I felt calm. Not productive, not impressive, just calm. I made tea, I opened a window, I turned on quiet music while I wiped the counters. And I decided this is the routine. Now I have a few soft anchors, not rigid steps, just rhythms that help me return to myself. When life gets chaotic, I don't have to restart everything. I just go back to one of those quiet little acts and let that be enough. Your routine doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to hold you. And the simpler it is, the more likely you'll actually come back to it again and again without guilt. Final. At some point, I realized I wasn't actually trying to have more. I was trying to feel done. Done with the day, done with the mess, done with the guilt that I hadn't done enough. But no matter how much I cleaned or planned or rearranged, the finish line kept moving. I had systems, I had routines. I even had bins with labels. But still, that hum of not yet followed me around the house. Like every corner was quietly asking for more of me. And I kept giving energy, time, attention until I was running on empty. So I tried something strange. I decided not to add anything. No new organizing bins, no better systems. I just paused. I looked around and asked myself, what if this is enough for tonight? Sometimes it wasn't perfect. The laundry wasn't folded. The floor had crumbs. But I'd done what I could, and instead of pushing for more, I let myself stop. I lit a candle. I sat down. I let the house be slightly undone and still worthy of peace. And that was the shift, learning to end the day before I felt finished, to rest before I'd earned it, to accept that peace comes not from control, but from permission. When you live this way gently, honestly, your home doesn't become perfect, but it does become quieter. And that quiet, that's where you come back to yourself. That was 12 gentle habits, not rules, not systems, just small choices that helped me feel more at home in my own space. And if you're sitting there thinking, I can't do all of that good, you don't need to. Start with just one. One drawer, one nightstand, one pause before you pick up your phone. This isn't about getting it right. It's about finding what feels kind to your home and to your nervous system. If your space has been weighing on you, let it be lighter. Let it be simpler. Let it be enough. And if you're not sure where to begin, I made a full video walking you through how I declutter one area at a time, so you're never overwhelmed by the big picture. You can watch that next. I'll link it here for you. If this video helped you feel seen or just breathed a little calm into your day, I'd love if you'd share or subscribe. Not for the numbers, but because I believe more women deserve to feel peace in their own homes without shame. You don't need to change everything. Just change how you begin, and begin gently. I'm with you.